If you're thinking about selling a home you've lived in for a long time, there's something most sellers don't realize until it's too late. The most important part of your sale isn't the closing. It's the first 2 weeks your home is on the market. Those first 14 days shape how buyers see your property, how strongly they negotiate, and in many cases, how smoothly the entire sale unfolds. Miss that window and the conversation with buyers can shift quickly. And once that happens, it's really hard to regain that momentum. So today, I'm going to walk you through why those first 14 days matter so much here and how you can position yourself before your listing ever goes live. In the last video, we talked about the mindset shift from downsizing to right-sizing and why starting with the life you want to create matters more than starting with the stuff. Today, we're talking about timing, because even when a home is beautifully prepared and strategically priced, how the market first reacts to your listing matters more than most sellers realize. And it all comes down to those first 2 weeks. When a home first hits the market, something interesting happens behind the scenes. That's when your listing gets the most attention it will ever receive. Buyers who've been watching the market suddenly see something new. Agents send alerts to their clients. Online platforms push your listing to the top of the search results. The spotlight is on your home. Serious buyers schedule showings quickly because they don't want to miss out. But here's the part most sellers don't realize. Those buyers aren't just looking, they're evaluating. They're asking questions like, is this priced correctly? How does this compare to the other homes we've seen? Should we move quickly or wait and see? And the answers they come up with in those first few days start to shape how the rest of your sale unfolds. Let me give you a quick example of what I mean. I had a seller who wanted to try just a little higher than the market suggested. The launch looked great on the surface. We had a strong first weekend, well-attended showings, lots of people through the door. But the feedback was almost identical for everyone. Nice home, but it's priced too high. And here's what tends to happen next. Those buyers don't usually come back the following week and say, let's take another look. Most of them simply keep shopping. And if they find another home that feels more aligned with the market, that's the one they pursue. Here's something worth understanding about today's buyers, especially in our area. According to the 2026 National Association of Realtors Generational Trends Report, baby boomers now make up 42% of all home buyers nationwide. These are experienced, deliberate buyers. They've been through this before. They're not making emotional snap decisions. They're comparing carefully, and they know what value looks like. And the sellers they're buying from, many of them have owned their homes for 15 years or more before selling. That means there's often real equity on the table, but also real risk of leaving money behind if the launch isn't handled well. So those first reactions during launch week matter enormously because the feedback buyers give in those early days starts shaping how the rest of the sale unfolds. That leads to the second thing sellers need to understand about those first 14 days. When the market reacts slowly, the conversation around the home starts to change. In the beginning, buyers are curious. They're excited to see something new. But if the home sits through that first week and then that second week, buyers start asking different questions. Not do we like the house, but why hasn't this sold yet? Or the one no seller wants to hear, how long has it been on the market? Because those questions lead to a shift. Suddenly, buyers are wondering, will the seller reduce the price? Will they offer concessions? How motivated are they really? And just like that, the seller isn't in the same position they were during the launch window. Now, a home sitting on the market for 2 weeks doesn't mean something is wrong with it, but it does mean the strategy may need to shift. Because once a listing loses that early momentum, the market starts to treat it differently. Buyers feel less urgency. Agents start comparing it more closely to other homes. And that's when a seller's leverage can quietly begin to slip away. So if those first 2 weeks carry that much weight, the real question becomes this: what can you do before your home ever hits the market to protect that window? Because once a listing is live, you're reacting to the market. The real strategy happens before the for sale sign ever goes in the yard. The sellers who tend to have the smoothest launches usually do 3 things before they list. First, they understand the condition of their home. Not perfectly, but clearly. They know the age of the roof, the furnace, the water heater. They've thought through what might show up during a home inspection so that nothing feels like a surprise later. For long-term homeowners especially, this matters. A home you've lived in for 20 or 30 years has a history, and the more clearly you understand it going in, the more confidently you can position it. Second, they think about positioning. not just the price, but how their home will compare to the other homes buyers will be looking at that same weekend. Buyers don't evaluate homes in isolation. They're looking at 3, 4, sometimes 6 homes in the same price range in the same afternoon. The question isn't just what is this home worth, it's how will this one stand out. Third, they plan their launch, not just list it and see what happens. They think through when the listing goes live, when showings start, whether an open house makes sense that first weekend, and how feedback from early showings will be evaluated and acted on quickly. Those decisions help shape the energy around a listing, and that energy is often what drives those early offers. Here's what I want you to walk away with today. When people ask me how long it takes to sell a home in our area, the real answer is a lot of that gets decided right at the beginning. Those first few days on the market are when buyers are paying the most attention. Agents are scheduling showings, the market is forming its first impression of your home. When the launch is well positioned, things tend to move forward smoothly. When it isn't, sellers often spend the next several weeks trying to rebuild momentum they may never fully get back. That's why so much of that real strategy happens before the listing ever goes live. If you've been thinking about selling this year, especially if you've been in your home for a long time, and you want to talk through what timing, pricing, and preparation might look like for your specific situation here locally, my contact information is below. Every home is different, and those early decisions are often what shape the entire experience. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Welcome home.